Good for a little stretch right now. Good time for a stretch. Everybody stand up. I mean it. Get up. Just do whatever little stretch you want to do that feels good. You know it's the 7th inning stretch in baseball. This is our 7th inning stretch. Little arm circles. Okay, that's enough. Maybe you know some good dance moves you can do. You've only got 20 more minutes, folks. 20 more minutes. 20 more short little minutes. And we're going to meet at the bar later, right? I'll be there. Okay. Again, my name is Sherry Arena. I'm the CEO of the NorCal Services for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. I'm also the chair of the California Coalition of Agencies Serving the Deaf and Hard of Hearing. There are 7 sister agencies, similar to NorCal, throughout the state of California. I'm also the campaign director for Lead K. That's a quick summary of me. Who are all of you? How many of you are parents? Is anybody still left? Okay, good. Parents. Yay for the parents. Much respect for you. How many teachers do we have here by show of hands? Hold them up high. Yay for the teachers. Again, much respect for your work. How many of you are interpreters, or support staff, say at a school, or providing support here? Interpreters? Where are my interpreters? We don't have interpreters at every table. Stand and show who you are. How many of you are community members? Get those hands up. Deaf community advocates. Okay, much respect. The interpreters, community members, and advocates. How many of you are happy to be here? All the hands should go up, right? Well, respect for that too. How many of you are EHDI stakeholders? How much of you are EHDI stakeholders? Only a few of them? No, that's wrong. You all are. Every last one of you who are here today are EHDI stakeholders. And you are all very important members of that effort. You are helping to shape and create success for deaf children, and my hat's off to you. There's the title of my presentation, Deaf Coach, Language Acquisition Services. Next slide. Oh, where's my Vanna White? Who's my Vanna White? Oh, you are? Okay. Hi. Thank you. I just didn't know where to look. What is NorCal? NorCal is short for NorCal Services for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. The state of California is set up with 8 regions. So there are sister agencies throughout the state providing, under the Department of Social Services, providing a variety of services to people who are deaf and hard of hearing. NorCal's region covers 24 northeastern counties. That's quite a large area, up to the top of the northern border of the state. So, who's providing services to whom? We serve deaf people, hard of hearing people, deaf blind people, deaf plus people, and so forth. Anyone under the sun of deafness, if you'll allow that phrase, that's who we serve. From all colors of the rainbow. From the womb to the tomb. We're there for the whole ride, providing services. My favorite way of describing it. From the womb to the tomb. At NorCal, we collaborate with our sister agencies, and we did in that in submitting a grant back in, I think, 2002-ish. Grant application to the California Endowment. We wrote the application and got the grant to form parent links. Hi. We're the ones who designed parent links. And you've heard that mentioned there for several times today, and that came from us, from the deaf leaders. We're the ones who designed and created the whole thing. We ran it for 5 years, and then we passed it on to the California Department of Education to continue the work. So that's how we got started in this. We were instrumental in getting AB 1836 passed. And for those who aren't familiar with 1836, I think it was described earlier, but it was the Deaf Children's Bill of Rights. It took 6 years to get that passed, but we finally did it. South Dakota and some other states then followed our lead and passed similar laws. And they did it before we did, unfortunately. We weren't not the first, is what I meant to say. But we did finally get it passed. We provide a variety of services, as I said. One special thing we do, though, is the Deaf Coach program. Why would we have a Deaf Coach program? We did it because since the passage of 1836, we have finally had language and communication being discussed in IEP meetings. Prior to that, the language part was missing. The language that your children use was missing. So we got that to be required since that time. But we noticed over and over again that the IDEA, which applies generally, did not focus on language acquisition services. It had different components, yes, Part C, Part what have you. And it had these things that are listed up here, family training, home visits, as options for a whole variety of services. But where are the language acquisition services in that list? Not there. Yes, yes. That's why we decided to introduce and ultimately got past Lead K, which was SB 210. In brief, SB 210 says that the language from 0 to 5 will be tracked and monitored for deaf and hard-of-hearing children. And then to ensure that they are meeting milestones and goals, there will be assessments done every 6 months to do that tracking and monitoring, and then an annual report will be prepared about how the process is going. Or at least our teachers work with us and work with families to discuss what the milestones should be and what the process should look like. And what the barriers there might be to children meeting the milestone. There could be other disability or other issues that the child's experiencing. And so we regrouped to discuss the possibility of an alternative learning alternative learning of language, another law associated with that. We want to make sure that any of those services that were listed were written in the IFSP and or the IEP, whichever was relevant. Does everyone understand IFSP? Yes, I'm seeing yeses around the room. The Individual Family Service Plan, which covers children from 0 to 3. From there on, they would have an IEP through to the age of 22. Next slide. Who can be a deaf coach? The sister agencies of California, and together we just finished the deaf coaching curriculum, and we've written a grant application in order to get the funding to set that up. We hired a specialist to develop the deaf coaching training program, and we did pilots in various places throughout the state of California. And there are currently 6 deaf agencies that have deaf coaches, and then 2 option schools have deaf coaches as well. It has to do with accountability, you know? And it's a person who's deaf, who's fluent in ASL and or English, spoken English perhaps, who works with families and the deaf child towards their IFSP or IEP's language goals. Whatever's there, whatever's written in the IFSP or IEP as a language goal. Oh, are you able to see okay over there? Hope I'm not turning my back to you too much. But I know you can see that screen over there, but can you see me? Okay. Next slide. This is what a deaf coach does. Everything you talked about today, basically. Where's that list? Where's the list of speakers and their topics? So that could just be the answer to this question. I don't know if there is anything that could be easily put up. Or if you can. Oh, David can't answer me. He's busy talking. Oh, there you go. Can I have that? Can somebody get it for me? Leanne talked about cultural humility. Michelle Burke talked about the new 4-letter F word, that being fine. We heard from an audiologist who was rethinking the concept of auditory deprivation. We had a lot more about reframing it as language deprivation. We had our dry hot dogs, but the discussion certainly was not dry. Exploring the attitudes and beliefs of audiology students regarding rethinking. Oh, and we also heard about rethinking rhyme and rhythm. We heard a parent talking about her deaf baby's experience. So all of those things are the reasons why we have the deaf coach. Now you see why I'm the last speaker, right? Because all of that is what the deaf coach does. They teach vocabulary and engage the family, working with the family, teach them about deaf culture, introducing them to other deaf adults in the community, providing them resources, really everything. They can help them with what's in the IFSP or the IEP. They will meet with from 1 to 1.5 hours per week. Or it could be once a month, a couple times a week, depending on what the family really wants. And they will work together with the teacher to arrange that. Next slide, please. The benefits of a deaf coach, are just a few of them are up here. Connecting the family and the deaf child to positive adult role models. Supporting the child's teacher and family on language milestone goals. That's very critical, because that's what SB 210 required when it was passed. Next. So those who may be interested in, are those who have a deaf or hard of hearing child from age 0 to 5. It could also be families of older students older than age 5, all the way up to age 22. We have gotten requests for deaf coach services in families that have older kids too. Next. The requirements or qualification that is to be a deaf coach. We do a background check via DOJ fingerprinting. Anybody who works with children must have that done. They must have the ability to communicate and develop rapport with families from all colors of the rainbow. Must have fluency in sign language and English. And we prefer those with college degrees, professional experience teaching ASL and or English, and experience working with families. Or their degree or experience to be in working with families. Because then they meet with the families on a weekly basis or whatever their cadence will be and do follow-up reports. They also attend all trainings and quarterly meetings. We arrange for that. How do you get a deaf coach? You mentioned it in the IFSP or in the IEP very clearly, but that's what you want. And then the school district uses their standard agreement to develop the service arrangement, the service agreement. There's a description of service and the hourly rate for the service, the time period over which it will be provided, and the number of families in the district to be served. Next. This is what NorCal would need from you in order to get this going. The teacher's contact info, the child's family contact info, the language milestones and goals to be achieved. The teacher's attendance at the first visit is necessary to introduce the deaf coach to the family. And who helped get this program started off? Go quickly. Where is she? She's right over there. The teacher is one of our colleagues, our partners, our ally throughout this whole endeavor. And also Clark Brook from the California School for the Deaf Fremont, superintendent there. And we have some others that are here with us as well, administrators. It's very important that administrators be involved in the process as well. The deaf coach can be provided as a school-based service if it's written as a service in the IFSP or the IEP. We'll be setting up deaf coach coordination services to help school districts find ways to write grants in order to get the funding necessary to help pay for the services. Understanding that the school district would pay us for providing the coaching services. And because we pay the deaf coaches. Next. The bottom line is, you all here in this room are the village that it takes to help raise a deaf child to be kindergarten ready. It's all of you. Thanks to you for that. So next is the question. There's also contact information there. So please take a picture so you have my contact information, also as well as Alice McGill. Where is Alice? She's here somewhere. And now my question to you is, what are some ways that you can support deaf kids to get deaf coach services in your area and or district? What can you do? I hope the question is clear enough for you to proceed.